There is an ancient truth about human desire that few men ever fully understand. A truth that, once internalized, completely transforms the dynamics between you and those around you. This truth is not found in seduction manuals, psychological tricks, or manipulative techniques that promise instant results. It is found deep within human nature, in the fundamental principles that govern attraction, desire, and personal magnetism. The truth is this: the man who tries to dominate the desire of others inevitably fails. The man who dominates himself inevitably attracts. This is the central paradox of male magnetism. The more you directly pursue attraction and desire, the more they elude your grasp. The less you need them, the more naturally they gravitate toward you. Think about the men you know who possess this natural magnetism. I'm not talking about those who have studied seduction techniques or who manipulate through psychological games. I'm talking about those rare men who seem to command attention, respect, and desire without apparent effort, who don't need to chase, convince, or impress, who simply exist in a state of such completeness and personal power that others are naturally drawn into their orbit. What these men possess is not a set of external abilities, but an internal condition. It is not something they do, but something they are. And it is this transformation of being, not the accumulation of techniques of doing, that constitutes the true occult science of male magnetism. Today, we're going to dissect this science with surgical precision. We're going to explore the fundamental principles that create genuine attraction and authentic desire. We're going to reveal the path to becoming not someone who desperately seeks to be desired, but someone who naturally arouses desire through your mere presence. But before we delve into the principles of authentic magnetism, we need to understand the central paradox of desire. This paradox explains why so many men, despite genuine efforts and diligent study of attraction techniques, continue to experience rejection, indifference, or, at best, superficial and fleeting interest. The paradox is this: desire cannot be created directly. It cannot be manufactured, forced, or manipulated in a sustainable way. Authentic desire arises as a natural consequence of qualities that have nothing to do with attempts to create desire. It is a side effect, not a direct target. And it is precisely when you stop pursuing it directly that it begins to flow toward you. Think of it as the difference between trying to appear confident and being genuinely confident. The man who tries to appear confident through studied behaviors, rehearsed body language, memorized conversational techniques may create a momentary impression, but he inevitably conveys a sense of artificiality that repels rather than attracts. The man who is genuinely confident, because he has built a life of value, developed real competence, and established a solid sense of self, naturally exudes an energy that others find magnetic. This distinction between seeming and being, between external techniques and internal transformation, is the key to understanding why most conventional approaches to attraction and desire fail miserably. They focus on doing, not being, on appearances, not essence, on symptoms, not causes. True masculine magnetism is built on three fundamental pillars: presence, purpose, and polarity. These are not behaviors to be performed, but states of being to be cultivated. They are qualities that, once developed, naturally emanate from you and create a gravitational field of attention, respect, and, yes, desire. The first pillar is total presence. Presence is not just being physically in a place. It is fully inhabiting the present moment, with all your senses, all your attention, all your being. It is the rarest quality in the age of perpetual distraction, where most people exist in a state of continuous partial attention, partly here, partly on their devices, partly lost in thoughts about the past or future. Total presence creates a magnetic field around you because it is extraordinarily rare. In a world where almost no one is completely present, the man who offers total presence becomes instantly remarkable. When you are fully present with someone, listening not just with your ears, but with your whole being, observing not just with your eyes, but with your whole consciousness, you offer one of the most valuable gifts possible: undivided attention in a world of perpetual distraction. But presence isn't just a conversational technique. It's a state of being that permeates every aspect of your existence. It's the way you walk into a room, fully inhabiting your body, aware of every movement, rooted in the moment. It's the way you engage in your work, completely immersed, in a state of flow, without need for external validation. It's the way you interact with the world, directly, unfiltered, without the constant mediation of screens and digital distractions. Total presence is magnetic because it communicates a powerful message. I am completely here. I don't need to be anywhere else. I am not anxious about the future or stuck in the past. This moment, this interaction, has my full involvement. This quality of presence is so rare that when it is found, it creates an indelible impression. To cultivate presence, start by eliminating distractions during interactions. No phones, notifications, or divided attention. Practice the art of deep listening. Not just waiting for your turn to speak, but truly absorbing what the other person is communicating, both verbally and non-verbally. Develop body awareness through practices like meditation, martial arts, or mindful movement. Presence is not a technique to be applied in specific moments. It is a state of being to be cultivated constantly. By the way, if you're resonating deeply with these truths about presence and magnetism, consider sharing this video with a friend who you know is ready for this transformation. Sometimes, a single perspective can completely change someone's trajectory. Now, let's continue exploring the second fundamental pillar of authentic masculine magnetism. The second pillar is transcendent purpose. Purpose is not just having goals or ambitions. It is being connected to something bigger than yourself, something that gives meaning and direction to your existence. It is the answer to the question, why do you get out of bed every morning? What are you building that will outlive you? What mark are you leaving on the world? Transcendent purpose creates magnetism because it solves one of the biggest attraction killers, the need for external validation. When you are genuinely connected to a higher purpose, your source of meaning and value comes from within, not from without. You don't need the approval, attention, or desire of others to feel complete or valuable. This self-sufficiency is paradoxically one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess. Notice how men with clear purpose move through the world. They are not constantly seeking approval or validation. They are not obsessed with what others think of them. They are not desperate for attention or affection. They are focused on their mission, their work, their impact. And it is precisely this quality of needlessness, this internal rather than external orientation, that others find magnetic. Purpose also creates direction, and few traits are as attractive in a man as a sense of clear direction. It's not necessarily about having all the answers or never doubting. It's about being in intentional motion rather than passive drifting. It's about being in the active process of becoming rather than simply existing. This quality of directed momentum, of being on a meaningful journey, naturally attracts others who want to be a part of that journey. To cultivate purpose, start by identifying what genuinely matters to you, not what you think should matter or what will impress others. What activities make you lose track of time? What problems in the world spark your indignation or passion? What legacy would you like to leave? Purpose is rarely discovered through passive contemplation. It emerges through action, experimentation, and active engagement with the world. Start doing, creating, building, serving. Purpose will reveal itself through the process. The third pillar is authentic masculine polarity. Polarity is not about superficial gender stereotypes or performative alpha male behaviors. It's about embodying fundamentally masculine qualities in a way that is authentic to you. It's about understanding that the most powerful attraction arises from complementarity, not similarity, from the dance between distinct masculine and feminine energies, not from the homogenization of those energies. Authentic masculine polarity manifests itself in qualities such as stable presence, directed strength, protectiveness without possessiveness, leadership without domination, assertiveness without aggression. It is not about suppressing emotions or vulnerability. It is about integrating them into a complete and mature masculine expression. It is about being simultaneously strong and sensitive, powerful and empathetic, unwavering and adaptable. This polarity creates magnetism because it activates deeply rooted instinctual responses. We are not talking about superficial social constructs, but archetypal dynamics that transcend culture and time. When you embody authentic masculine polarity, you become a point of stability in a chaotic world, a source of direction in a sea of confusion, a safe harbor in an emotional storm. Observe how men with a well-developed masculine polarity interact with the world. They do not need to dominate conversations or situations. Their presence alone communicates strength. They do not need to prove their worth or status. Their quiet confidence speaks for itself. They do not need to control or possess. Their inner security allows freedom and space. And it is precisely this quality of effortless strength, of power without demonstration, that others find irresistibly attractive. To cultivate authentic masculine polarity, start by developing emotional stability, the ability to stay centered and present even in challenging situations. Practice assertiveness, expressing your needs, boundaries, and truths with clarity and respect. Cultivate courage, the willingness to face discomfort, the unknown, and the difficult in service of growth and purpose. Develop competence in areas you value. Few things are as fundamentally masculine as the ability to effectively impact the world around you. These three pillars, presence, purpose, and polarity, form the basis of authentic masculine magnetism. But to transform them from abstract concepts into lived reality, we need to understand the process of internal alchemy that allows us to fully embody them. Inner alchemy begins with an honest recognition of where you are right now. What are your current patterns? Where do you seek external validation? Where do you disconnect from presence? Where do you lack clear direction? This self-assessment is not about judgment or self-criticism. It is about establishing a clear starting point for your transformation. The next step is to identify the limiting beliefs that sustain your current patterns. What stories do you tell yourself about your worth, your capabilities, your place in the world? What underlying fears drive your behavior? What past wounds still influence your present? These limiting beliefs are like programs running in the background, silently sabotaging your transformational efforts. A common limiting belief is the idea that your worth depends on the approval or desire of others. This belief creates a vicious cycle. The more you seek external validation, the less authentic you become. The less authentic you are, the less naturally attractive you become. The less attractive you are, the more desperately you seek validation. To break this cycle, you need to deeply internalize that your worth is inherent, not contingent on the response of others. Another limiting belief is the idea that attraction and desire are primarily about physical appearance, social status, or specific techniques. This belief leads to a focus on superficial aspects rather than the deep internal transformation that truly creates lasting magnetism. To transcend this limitation, you need to understand that while these external factors may create initial interest, it is the internal substance that sustains genuine attraction over time. A third limiting belief is the fear of rejection or judgment. This fear leads to self-censorship, to playing the safe version of yourself, and to avoiding the emotional risks necessary for authentic connection. To overcome this limitation, you need to develop the understanding that rejection is not a reflection of your worth, but simply an indicator of alignment. Not everyone will resonate with your authentic energy, and that is not only acceptable, it is desirable. The process of transforming these limiting beliefs is not instantaneous. It is an ongoing practice of awareness, questioning, and replacement. Each time you notice a limiting belief arising, pause. Question its validity. Consider alternative perspectives. Gradually replace it with a belief that is more empowering and aligned with the person you are becoming. If these revelations about limiting beliefs are illuminating patterns in your own life, this is a pivotal moment in your journey. Share this knowledge with other men in your life who are ready for this transformation. True power comes when we build a community of men committed to excellence and mutual growth. Now, let's explore how this internal alchemy manifests externally. The outward projection of masculine magnetism occurs naturally when internal transformation is underway. It's not about superficial techniques or studied behaviors. It's about allowing your transformed inner state to express itself authentically through powerful nonverbal cues that others instinctively perceive. The first and most fundamental of these signals is your physical presence. I'm not talking about appearance in the conventional sense, but about how you inhabit your body and take up space. The magnetically present man moves with purpose and economy. No unnecessary haste, no nervous or distracting movements, no attempts to make himself smaller or less visible. He maintains steady eye contact, not in an intrusive or domineering way, but with comfort and confidence. His posture communicates both strength and openness, spine erect, shoulders relaxed, chest open. Practice body awareness daily. Notice how you sit, stand, and walk. Eliminate movement patterns that communicate insecurity, nervous fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, or a closed or defensive posture. It's not about performing confidence, but about removing the physical habits that contradict the confidence you're cultivating internally. The second powerful nonverbal signal is his voice. Not just the content of his words, but the sonic quality of his delivery. The magnetically present man speaks with clarity and intent, not rushed, not too loud or too soft, not too approving in tone. He uses strategic pauses, allowing his words to have weight and impact. He varies his tone and pace to create engagement, but always from a center of stability. Practice vocal awareness daily. Notice how you speak when you're nervous versus when you're comfortable. Eliminate vocal patterns that communicate insecurity, speaking too quickly, ending sentences with questions, inconsistent volume, filling silences with s and ah. Again, it's not about performing a different voice, but about removing vocal habits that contradict the inner confidence you're cultivating. The third nonverbal sign is your emotional energy. This is the most subtle and perhaps the most powerful quality, the emotional atmosphere you create around you. The magnetically present man maintains emotional stability, not being impassive or repressed, but not easily destabilized by external circumstances or the reactions of others. He expresses emotions authentically, but is not controlled by them. He remains centered in his own truth, even when faced with resistance or disapproval. Practice emotional awareness daily. Notice how you respond to emotional triggers, criticism, rejection, conflict, even praise and positive attention. Develop the ability to feel emotions fully without being overwhelmed by them. Cultivate what the Stoics called inner fortitude, not the absence of feeling, but the ability to feel fully while maintaining clarity and purpose. These nonverbal cues, physical presence, vocal quality, and emotional energy, communicate more about you than any words you could ever say. They are the outward manifestation of your inner transformation and are instinctively perceived by those around you, creating an impression of solidity, confidence, and personal power that is fundamentally attractive. Now, let's translate these principles into practical strategies that you can implement immediately to cultivate authentic male magnetism. The first strategy is the daily practice of presence. Set aside at least 10 minutes each day for formal meditation, not as a spiritual exercise, but as mindfulness training. Learn to bring your awareness fully into the present moment, observing your thoughts and emotions without getting caught up in them. Extend this practice to everyday activities, eating without distractions, having a conversation without checking your phone, working in a state of flow without multitasking. Presence is not a state to be achieved occasionally. It is a muscle to be strengthened consistently. The second strategy is purpose clarification and alignment. Identify your core values, not what you think you should value, but what genuinely resonates with you on a deep level. Determine what impact you want to have on the world, what problem you want to solve, what beauty you want to create, what service you want to provide. Set goals that align with this higher purpose, not just external milestones of success, but concrete expressions of your values and vision. Review and refine them regularly, ensuring that your daily actions are aligned with your transcendent purpose. The third strategy is to develop competence in areas that matter to you. Masculine magnetism is inseparable from the ability to effectively impact the world. Identify skills that are both intrinsically satisfying and valuable to others. Dedicate yourself to the process of mastery, not to impress, but for the intrinsic pleasure of development and excellence. Embrace the discomfort necessary for growth, the frustrating plateaus, the inevitable failures, the hours of deliberate practice. Genuine competence creates a confidence that cannot be faked and that naturally attracts respect and admiration. The fourth strategy is to practice compassionate assertiveness. Learn to express your needs, boundaries, and truths clearly and respectfully. Don't confuse assertiveness with aggression or domination. True assertiveness comes from a place of inner security, not compensatory insecurity. Practice saying no without over-explaining, setting boundaries without defensiveness, expressing disagreement without hostility. Compassionate assertiveness simultaneously communicates strength and consideration, a combination that inspires both respect and connection. The fifth strategy is cultivating strategic vulnerability. Authentic vulnerability, not as a manipulative tactic, but as an expression of genuine self-confidence, is paradoxically a demonstration of strength, not weakness. Learn to appropriately share your struggles, doubts, and imperfections, not to seek sympathy or validation, but to create authentic human connection. Strategic vulnerability is not about indiscriminate exposure. It is about calibrated disclosure that demonstrates security in your own humanity. The sixth strategy is developing a magnetic social presence. In social settings, practice quality over quantity of interaction. Instead of trying to know everyone or be the center of attention, focus on creating genuine connections with a few. Listen more than you talk. Ask questions that demonstrate real interest, not just superficial politeness. Offer value, insights, humor, unique perspectives, without expecting an immediate return. Allow yourself to take up space without dominating it, to be noticed without demanding attention. The seventh strategy is to eliminate validation-seeking behaviors. Systematically identify and remove patterns that communicate a need for external approval. Constantly checking reactions, changing opinions to please, nervous laughter after statements, over-explaining decisions, unnecessary apologies, self-deprecation as a defense mechanism. These subtle but powerful behaviors undermine your magnetism more effectively than any failed attraction technique. If you recognize the transformative value of these strategies, consider sharing this knowledge with other men in your life. True power comes not from hoarding wisdom for yourself, but from uplifting those around you. By creating a community of men committed to excellence and growth, you not only empower yourself, but you contribute to a larger collective transformation. Now let's conclude with the fundamental truth about mastering desire. True mastery of desire is not about controlling how others feel about you. It's about freeing yourself from the need for those feelings for your fulfillment and validation. It's about becoming so fulfilled within yourself, so aligned with your purpose, so present in your own experience, that the desire and attraction of others becomes not a desperate need, but a natural consequence and a welcome addition to your already full existence. This is the ultimate paradox and the deepest truth of male magnetism. When you don't need to be desired is when you naturally become desirable. When you don't seek approval is when you naturally inspire admiration. When you don't chase attraction is when you naturally attract it. The path we've outlined is neither easy nor quick. It offers no shortcuts or magic solutions. It requires honest self-examination, consistent practice, and a willingness to confront and transform deeply ingrained patterns. But the results aren't just an increased ability to attract and inspire desire, although that certainly happens. The results are a life lived from a place of authenticity, purpose, and genuine personal power. The choice is now yours. You can continue to seek out external techniques, psychological tricks, and magic formulas that promise results without the necessary inner work. Or you can embark on the journey of transformation we have described, the patient, consistent cultivation of presence, purpose, and polarity that naturally emanate as irresistible magnetism. Choose wisely, because in the end, the quality of your connections, the depth of your influence, and the impact of your presence in the world are determined not by what you do, but by who you are.